Car buyers can't get enough of SUVs. Demand is sky high and there are new models launching all the time. So even though it might seem that electric cars make the most sense as small urban runarounds, it's no surprise that car makers are focusing more and more attention on building big, high-riding, luxurious and fully electric SUVs. The choice today is bigger than ever. But what makes a good electric SUV and which ones should end up on your shortlist? In this video, we're running through the top 10 options on sale right now, and we're also naming the electric SUVs which are best avoided. But first, if you're looking for a new car and you want a great deal, then click on the link at the top of the screen to go to whatcar.com. And to keep up with our fully independent and in-depth reviews of every new EV being released this year and beyond, subscribe to our channel. The first fully electric Kia e-Niro was an absolutely game-changing electric car back when it was released in 2018. This new model, which was released last year and changed its name to become the Niro EV, doesn't move the goalposts in today's electric car market in the same way, but it does still subtly improve an already excellent formula. It's comfortable, practical, and offers decent performance. It doesn't charge particularly quickly, and the interior has a few hard plastics around, but it is the cheapest option in this top 10 roundup. Nissan was a major player in the early days of mainstream electric cars. Admittedly, that's because when it first launched the Nissan Leaf more than a decade ago, there were hardly any other competitors around. But it was still an incredibly bold move of the Japanese manufacturer to release such a car when it did, and it remains one of the best-selling EVs of all time. Which is why it was a bit of a surprise that it took so long for Nissan to release its second electric model, or third if you count the electric van with windows, which was the ENV200. The Aria is a fully electric SUV which is practical, well equipped, and if you go for the massive 87 kWh battery version, it gets a competitive range between charges as well. It doesn't revolutionise the EV world in the way the original Leaf did, but it's a solid electric choice. Think electric car and lots of people will think Tesla. Elon Musk's American brand has spent almost 20 years shaking up the car world, and the unveiling of the Model Y back in 2019 sent fans wild. It was a long time before anyone had a chance to drive one in the UK, but it delivered what we've come to expect from Tesla. No matter which version you go for, you get a quirky but intuitive infotainment system, great acceleration, a fantastic range between charges, and the huge benefit of getting access to Tesla's supercharger network, which are much quicker and more reliable than the chargers all other electric cars are stuck with. Plus, the Model Y had a huge price drop at the start of this year, making it an even more appealing electric SUV. Some ardent Tesla fans might be surprised not to see this car higher up our list, but that's because it's an SUV not without its drawbacks. Really, it's let down by an unsettled ride and noisy cruising manners, and ultimately, the Tesla Model 3 is a better buy. The Audi Q4 e-tron is a comfortable and impressive plush electric SUV. It offers a classy and spacious interior, and it's well priced too. There's also a coupe-style version of the Q4 called the Q4 Sportback. It's more expensive and less practical, so it's difficult to recommend objectively, but if you want a Q4, prefer the looks of the Sportback, and are willing to pay extra, then fair enough. We'd stick with this regular model though. When the very first pictures were released, it's fair to say the BMW iX had a face that split opinion. But there's no questioning the array of talents that the car offers. The iX is a fantastic electric SUV with a beautifully built interior. There's a few different versions available, but the clear pick of the lineup is the xDrive 50 M Sport, because it gets a massive battery offering a range that's longer than anything else in this list, and it also adds air suspension, which makes this one of the best riding electric cars out there. So if it's so good, why is it only 10th? Well, it is fantastically expensive. It costs the most money to buy out of all the SUVs listed here by quite some way, so it isn't exactly the value option. Underneath, the Skoda Enyak is very similar to the Q4 e-tron. And while it's similarly comfortable on the road, it's way more practical inside and available with a smaller battery which makes it much cheaper. That does also mean the range isn't amazing, but if it fits within your lifestyle, this is a brilliant electric SUV that represents great value in this company and for the money is very tough to beat. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 was the start of a dramatic change in direction for the Korean manufacturer's styling. The retro futuristic design really caught people's attention and has since been followed up by the striking Ioniq 6. There'll be lots more Ioniq models coming in the future too. But there's much more to this car than the styling. A recent tweak to the lineup has slightly improved the range and the ride, making an already very impressive electric SUV even better. It offers quiet and relaxing cruising manners, a very spacious and practical interior, particularly when it comes to the rear seat space, and it has the ability to charge at super fast speeds. The Audi Q4 e-tron and the Skoda Enyak are very similar underneath, and it's the same story with the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. The two cars are not totally identical though. While they both deliver very long ranges between charges and charge at the same super fast speeds, there are differences too. Of course, they look quite different, and some might even question quite how much of an SUV the sleek-looking EV6 is, but the fact is, it's longer than a Jaguar I-Pace and absolutely huge inside. The bigger and most important difference is the fact that EV6 is sharper to drive than the Ioniq 5 and comes with a better quality interior. Stick with the rear-wheel drive versions to keep the price down, and these models have the longest ranges too. And as with any Kia, the whole car is covered by a very long 7-year warranty, which can't be beaten by its rivals. You might struggle to see any family resemblance at all between the iX and the iX3, but we promise they are both BMWs. And they are both fantastic electric options. The iX3 is almost half the price of the iX and is far more understated in its appearance, but still very impressively accomplished in every area. In particular, it's great to drive and it's practical, and it's got a brilliant infotainment system as well. But the very best electric SUV you can buy right now is the Genesis GV60. If you haven't heard of it, Genesis is the premium arm of the Hyundai Group, similar to what Audi is to Volkswagen. And that means the GV60 is very similar to the EV6 and Ioniq 5 underneath. The reason the GV60 is the pick of not only those cars but every other electric SUV around is in part down to its exquisite interior. It features plush materials, impeccable build quality, and a generally high-end feeling throughout. It's also got a great infotainment system that's very simple to use. And similar to the EV6 and Ioniq 5, it's comfortable, quiet, and practical. Genesis hasn't been selling cars in the UK for long, so it's still relatively unknown over here. But this is a car that deserves to make it a household name. But not every electric SUV is recommendable. Ford has recently unveiled the new Ford Explorer, and hopefully it will prove to be a better electric effort than the Mustang Mach-E. While you can have that electric SUV with a fantastically long range, the rest of the car is really quite disappointing. It has a very unsettled ride, which is enough to irritate anyone sat in it, and even a hurried suspension adjustment to the lineup hasn't noticeably helped matters. The sloppy handling isn't great either, and the so-so build quality inside is poor next to many rivals for the same money. The DS3 Crossback E-Tense is another forgettable electric SUV, with cramped rear seats, a fiddly infotainment setup, and a driving experience which is far from engaging. It's not a terrible electric SUV, but with so much high-quality choice around, there's little about the DS3 that stands out. So those are the best and worst electric SUVs. Tell us in the comments below what your favourites are. To make sure you see all of our reviews of every new car, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget that whatcar.com is the place to go for a great deal on your next car. Thanks for watching.